Hello there. My name is Zidan Hamdani. I would like to presenting about an analysis the poets by Ladan Osman. The name is the title is Tonight. I would like to this is I would like to dedicate my presentation to my subjects for a survey of literature in Islamic contemporary world. Okay, begin. First thing first, let us know Ladan Osman get closer. Ladan Osman was born in Somalia. She earned a BA at Otter Baines College and an MFA at the University of Texas at Austin Missionary Center for Readers. Her book, Ordinary Heaven, appears in 7 New Generation African Poets. Her full-length collection, The Kitchen's Dweller's Testimony, won the Silverman First Book Prize. Her work has appeared in Apogee, The Normal Schools, Price's Schooners Transition Magazine, and Waxwing. Osman has received the fellowships from the Fine Art Work Center, Canham, and the Missionary Center. She is a contributing editor of at the Offering, and now she lives and teaching in Chicago. Before we begin the analysis, let me show you the original of poets about the poetry. Yeah, this is my purpose to I want to show you the original stanza as well, and you have to know the stanza are very minimized inside. Okay, the next slide. Tonight by Ladan Osman is a pre-verse poem that embraces no definitive rhythm scheme or conscious pattern that lack of the refined structure exists in brain the poems underlying them to like the spate of the focus remaining on trivial scene. In fact, by inference, the focus of the poem is very unsubstantial moment in the narrator's life, but that simplicity is quite deceiving since more is being covered within the poem's line than just the physical happening. Below the surface, there is a deepness showcased in the pondering the narrators, and those pondering are the core of what this poem represents. An unexpected twist though, the wording, and the details show the hidden truth of the situation that the narrator is responsible for her own loneliness and solitude. Okay, let's focus on the stanza. The next slide. Same slide. On one of the first things to note concerning tonight is that the stanza are very minimized in size, and that the smallness can be seen as a reflection of the lack of importance the narrator seems to feel in regard to her connection to the world around her. The specific of her solitude will be elaborated on the future stanzas, but the briefness of this first one is paving the way for her overall sensation of loneliness in the world by diving into the actual words of the stanza. The reader gets an early idea of the mentality of the narrator, and her ideas are ephemerally negative by the time the first line ends. There is no discussions of the beauty of star or the cool of the night air, but rather a quick declaration that the night in question is a drunk man. This wording, the create an image before an specific information is given in regard to the location or scenery that's occurring around the narrator sense drawing comes with a series of negative connotation. It can mean unstable, confused, jumbled, unfair, reckless, and other names that are in conflict with the word opposite. Which will be sober, steady, sure, and clear-minded. By labeling the night in this means the narrator succeeds in painting an unpleasant representation of the night. The second part of the stanza continues along that unpleasant strain of a thought by saying that the drunk man is wearing a dirty shirt already. already. And the introduction to this point felt at first unstable, but to add in the new layer of unpleasantness through the unclean attire further pushes this notion. The author has made this unpleasantness clear in 8 words, and that's the notion is solidly in place before we journey the next stanza. Now that the overall feel of the night has been set in stone, the narrator turns toward more of the physical aspect of the scenario, or rather, what things are a part of the scenario. Specifically, the narrator does not seem to be aware of any other human in the vicinity, since no couple is chatting by the recycle bin. This information is doubly important. First, because it gives solid evidence to the idea of the narrator is alone at the time this poem is taking place. Worse, the narrator is working through immediately and easy tasks by unloading her plastic, and the lack of company forced her to go about this business on her own. This combined notions speak to how easily this narrator finds herself without company, but also to the idea that the people can be uninterested in the problem of others because no one is approaching to help. There is a solidarity quality of the scenario that leave her helpless, maybe bitter. And that's the fact that no one has is another mark against the Nike is the Nikes in question. Beyond this subtle meaning of words, the stanza provides the reader with their very first detail about the scenery other than it being Nike. We know now that the narrator is near recycle bins and unloading plastics, and that visual provides something to physically latch onto as we go through the poems. It's worth nothing through that the description doesn't push very far past the basic information. Much like the scanner is simple, this detailing of the moment is very basic, as if a deeper detail are as insignificant as the narrator herself feels. Still, the narrator fixated on the what isn't a part of the scenery, which further fuses the notion of loneliness and insignificance. If something fantastic or interesting were at play, the narrator could have focused on this detail to give the readers a clear image of what's happening. Since so little information exists about what there is contrast to the amount of time being spent on what isn't there. It is logical for the reader to conclude that that a little words, nothing is present. This notion is bleak, no doubt, but it could also hint that the nature is deliberately searching for these negative qualities of what isn't there. Surely, there will be some item nearby that would merit a mention: a building, a street like, a mouse, but we hear a little about those elements. The narrator's tendency to only mention those negative qualities could reveal an underlying pessimism that will make her unreliable as a narrator. In fact, this notion seems to be validated in that one of the things she mentioned as not being there is a black and white cat. The cat and dry coloring of the animals could reflect a divided outlook from the narrators that leaves no middle ground. It was a bleak night. The reader couldn't necessarily trust her to deliver any detail of this contrary of the idea. Essentially, from the stanza, we learn more about the narrator than we do the scenery, and it isn't the best of representation. Okay, man, that's all of me. Well, thank you very much. And in PPT, as you can see that my face, I'm so confident. I'm so sorry. Okay, that's all from me. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.